And we are live.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to a very impromptu haul video where I've dragged my good friend Matt, Frozen Colorado Wednesday Serial, into a live hangout where I'm just going to show what I got at the comic book shop today, and then we'll talk about other stuff. And since Matt's having beer, I decided to get a beer, even though I said I wouldn't.
There you go.
I have a very impressionable mind. What are you drinking?
Something I made.
You make homemade beer, or is it?
Yeah, I homebrew. This was supposed to be a clone of Operandus Morandi, which is a ska beer, but it failed as a clone, but it's very good.
A ska beer? What's a ska beer?
Ska's brewery here in Colorado.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought it was a kind of beer. So.
No. It's technically supposed to be a IPA without the bitter, which makes it not really an IPA at all. But
in the back of my refrigerator was one blueberry ale that I failed to drink during the summer. So,
ooh, fruit beer.
I drink fruit beer in the summer.
And the winter.
I'm very frou-frou. I've often been accused of being gay for drinking that beer. By my wife. No, I'm totally making it up.
Still mainlier drinking than Greco. That's all I know.
Drinking what?
Greco's a lightweight.
Oh, I didn't know that. He's so handsome. I don't know anything else about him. I'm just dazzled by him.
That's all you need to know, really.
Sorry, what?
That's all you need to know.
Right.
My mic not on?
I thought you were saying, no, it's when I'm talking at the same time I don't hear so well. I thought you were saying he's not really good looking because you're the only one who's met him in person amongst the two of us. I can't believe he's actually a real human being.
He's out there.
Never watch. Okay. So I went to the shop today and I was going to buy potentially 19 comics, but in the end I only bought 12.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I also had two others that came in the mail, which are older, I guess, from the point of view of people who keep up. But my Marvel comics, I either read 6 months late or a few weeks late if I get the physical copies. So I got this Doctor Strange, which I haven't read yet.
That's an amazing.
I like the cover. He's got nice underwear on. Matches his outfit, I guess. I have read this Silver Surfer because my daughter was really excited. So we read this. This was the end of the Battle World Silver Surfer.
Okay.
In which it appeared, it took 3 issues. It appeared that Silver Surfer was going to remake our universe. But at the end of this issue, they undo it. And it turns out he is not the one who remade our universe.
Oh, okay.
And they have a little, where is it? It is so bad. I can't believe they had a little note from the editor.
We're sorry.
So they create this universe, which is then embodied by this guy whose name is Glorian. I'm totally spoiling this, but it's spoiler worthy.
He's old school Marvel, though, right? I swear I've seen him before.
Is Glorian old school Marvel? I didn't know him, but so the original Marvel universe is inside of Eternity. And the new universe that was created by the Silver Surfer and his girlfriend is inside of Glorian. But then just by coincidence, as they have to choose, Dr. Doom's mask breaks off of Eternity, and Dr. Doom is no longer in control of our universe. And it just says, to see how that happened, read Secret Wars number 9, which hasn't come out. So everything that happened in these 3 issues is undone by whatever happens in Secret Wars number 9, and then we move on to our happy ending. So it's like 3 issues of meaninglessness, but with cool Michael Allred art. But even my daughter, my 7-year-old, was a little puzzled by after we'd gone through all of that, and it was all undone in the last 3 pages.
Yeah, wow.
So, but I think that's how all of these Battle World things are. They started out good, at least the few that I've read, but then they just peter out at the end because they can't do anything and nothing can mean anything.
Yeah, it looks like he was a character that was around in the 70s and kind of had a heyday, and they brought back for the whole Annihilation.
Uh-huh.
Now that's old.
Huh. Yeah, he seems like a character that might have been created by Jim Starlin or something.
Yeah, who wasn't?
They also, well, anyone who was created by Jack Kirby wasn't. They also have someone who I'd never heard of called the Shaper of Worlds. Have you ever heard of him?
No, he looks like a Skrull.
He does look like a Skrull. I assume the cosmic end of the Marvel Universe isn't really your bag.
No, but I mean, honestly, up until, frankly, Guardians of the Galaxy came out, it was very much like a side thing. Like, there wasn't a lot of focus put on it. It's not
Very
like
true,
DC,
yeah.
where it's more of a actual deal.
Right. Well, DC had Green Lantern, which they had built up, I guess, in the last 15 or 20 years into something more cosmic, maybe. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's very artificial or it feels artificial to us that Marvel's suddenly so cosmic.
I don't mind it per se. It's just most of the Marvel cosmic characters are, from what I remember having read, boring as sin. Like, I remember trying to read Annihilation. I just remember it being all these big, tough, macho people with big nipples trying to take this whole end of the universe thing seriously. And there's just no connection point for me.
Right.
Whereas with like Green Lantern or Rebels or Lobo, even, like, I just found it, they were just using space and doing whatever wacky thing, but they were telling fun stories more than having cosmic consequences. And I guess that's why Guardians of the Galaxy took off, because that's more in that vein.
Yeah, when Annihilation was coming out, I picked up a random issue or two without even knowing anything about Marvel at that. I mean, the status quo at that point, and I really didn't get much out of them. But maybe I wouldn't have if I tried to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of cosmic, I got something called Grandpa Simpson's Unbelievable Adventures, which
All right.
I'm hoping to read on the airplane with my daughter when we travel across country for Christmas. It's a decide your own destiny, so choose your own adventure.
That's cool.
Thing. I heard about it on there's that guy who does there's a guy who owns a comic book shop from Florida who does a weekly video. Anyway, he talked this up, and so that's what made me.
Granley? No.
There's this blonde guy. I think he's just called A Comic Shop or something. He does videos every week.
Too many of them anymore. I should own a comic shop, get some views.
You probably don't know much about Wally Wood, but there's a ripoff of a famous Wally Wood picture.
Oh,
The splash page of this.
That's from that one.
It was originally from Weird Science or
Right.
Weird Fantasy.
Yeah, that page is particularly famous. It's particularly famous.
A lot of people have done ripoffs or homages to it, I guess.
Well, because the whole big reveal was that it was a black guy, right? And then people were like, "Oh my god, a black astronaut! You can't have
Right.
that."
Yeah, that probably was that one.
Yeah.
A Wally Wood art that they're ripping off. And then I got a very psychedelic looking Batman and Robin Eternal.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've been liking that series more than anyone, I think.
Yeah. And it seems like it's the most consistent Batman title at the moment, even though it's not really Batman, I guess, except in the flashbacks.
Batman's like shit. I just want it to be consistent, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, it's another writer. That makes it like the 6th or 7th writer working on this. Ed Brisson. I know that name, but I don't know from where. But it feels to me like, wouldn't 4 writers be enough for something that comes out weekly? It feels odd. Anyway, hopefully Ed Brisson's good too, but I worry each time they add a new writer that it will go bad.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, I don't know why you need that many writers. I understand the need for that many artists, but how long does it take to write a 20-page installment of a story that you keep on going with, I wonder?
Right. Well, it seems like just in general, reading comics, it feels like most writers can do about 3 comics a month. So either you could get 2 writers just making it their main output for each month.
Yeah, but assuming they planned this thing ahead at all, right? Which
Right.
you'd hope so. It takes writers that much to like actually do out the issues, but I mean, usually what they're doing is they're plotting ahead, working out the fine details, and then moving ahead and then doing the issues and the fine tuning. But every issue they do, they're kind of working ahead.
Right.
That's the idea of the head writers and the editors there, like really pulling the work together and then scripting, and then they should just be scripting together and someone taking the actual dialogue, I guess, and being the
Right.
touch.
It might not be as much work for the people doing the script, or it might actually, you know how committees always make things more difficult? It might actually be more work.
Well, it shouldn't be like going through the Schultz estate to like, okay, every detail in a Peanuts comic or anything. Like they should be in a room like TV writers. Because, I mean,
I have a feeling they were in a room in the first Batman Eternal, but not in this one, the way they credit it. Because they used to credit everyone as kind of an advisor. And now they just say story by Tinian and Snyder and script by so-and-so. And they don't, in each issue, mention all the other writers. So I think this one is more tightly controlled. But anyway, I just feel like, you know, if you had 4 writers, each doing one a month, that should be enough.
Yeah, and it's
that's obviously not the way they want to do it.
It's a week, but I mean, the rule for screenwriting is that roughly every page equals a minute of screen time.
Yeah.
And so if they're 20-page comics, that means they're writing less than someone doing a sitcom per comic. I don't know. That just seems weird. I don't know. It doesn't add up.
Well, sitcoms really are done with a writer's room, right? Where everyone brainstorms for a few days and then one person takes the script and puts it all together, throws it all together in like a day or two. That's my understanding of how they work, but I could be wrong.
I mean, I'm sure it varies, but...
So even though it will say one person wrote the script, it was probably 5 or 6 people contributing jokes and different bits that they cobbled together into a script. I don't know. That's generally been my understanding. But also, they can afford more writers, right? They have a lot of writers.
Oh, yeah.
It just seems to me each person being responsible for one issue a month might be a good way to go, but who knows? What was it called? Future's End? What's the one that we both liked until the ending of it?
Yeah, Future's End, yeah.
That had each writer writing part of each issue, like they each were writing threads that someone interwove together.
Yeah, and they kind of had their part. Right.
And if you don't think about the ending of that actually seemed to be a good system.
Which was clearly editorial.
Right. It was that ending was editorial driven by the decision they were going to not conclude the story, but make it continue in Batman Beyond.
And that just worked out famously. Is that book even still being published?
I think it is. I hear a few people occasionally complaining about it. I think they rope in some suckers who think they're getting the old Batman Beyond, and then the people read it and get confused and complain about it in their reviews or videos.
Yeah, I tried the first issue and I just couldn't do it.
So let's see. Before I look at the next, we actually for a second there had 7 viewers.
Suckers. We roped them in.
But I just realized I usually think ahead and set up a way for me to look at comments, but I haven't done that.
Oh.
And I wonder if I can. Are you satisfied with YouTube? I don't want to answer that question right now.
No.
No. Well, yeah.
They changed the whole Hangouts thing again and made it infinitely more confusing than it was before again.
Okay, we're going to get feedback first.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs.
Why does it say comments are disabled for this video? I did not disable comments.
You're just not allowed to have them.
And chat is disabled for this video. Apparently, I disabled comments. Okay, well, I won't have to worry about answering anybody's comments. I'm sorry to all of you that if anyone wanted to comment, that I don't know how to enable the comments at this point. I don't like a lot of the live hangouts now. People have that comment thing on the side, and then when the live event ends, all the comments are gone.
And then there's comments that, I've seen
So
that.
I prefer the regular comments, but that seems to be disabled on mine. I don't remember being asked anything by Google about what I wanted to do with comments.
They just do it now. No questions. Just suck it up. Ow.
Oh, well. Sorry about that. I guess if anyone follows me on Twitter and wants to tweet a comment, I will watch there. I will watch my notifications. Now it says we have 10 viewers.
Yes. Hello.
I'm pulling in the views by having a good-looking co-host. So anyway, I love the cover of this current Batman and Robin Eternal.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's the first comic you've shown that I was going to pick up and just haven't gone to the shop today. For my nerd cred, it's one of those days in Colorado where you just don't want to drive if you don't have to because it's a mountain of snow. So, yeah.
You stay at home and say, boo-hoo, I can't get comics.
And play video games.
Well, we happy people in Portland get everything. This is Batman Arkham Knight Genesis, which has been good up to now. You haven't been reading this, right?
No, and I haven't played the game yet, but I need to get on that.
I will probably never play the game, but I've really liked this series. I've kind of lost steam on the regular series, which I'm now 2 issues behind on, the regular Batman Arkham Knight.
Right, so there's 2 video game spin-off.
Plus a bunch of one-shots and annuals.
What the hell? Okay.
And they're all written by Pete Tomasi, who seems to mostly do a good job, and then you feel like suddenly he gives up or something. He's very much the victim of editorial, I think.
I don't see why on that, because at this point it doesn't matter. It's all over.
Well, but I mean, he always seems to get these editorially driven assignments where he can't really make his own choices. So anyway, Batman Arkham Genesis, I mean, there's 1 more issue to go, but judging from the 4 issues I've read, it's the one part of the Arkham Knight spin-offs that is worth reading, or especially worth reading.
Cool.
Those are the only those are all the big 2, so all the rest is indie. So you probably don't get any of these. You don't get Autumn Lands, do you?
I haven't been getting it for a while now. That was just one of those books that I enjoyed, but not enough to keep running with.
I generally have the sense you're not into the sort of hardcore fantasy kind of stories.
Yeah, not so much. I don't know. Also, I was really on board more with like the first issue, then they started throwing in the weird pithy human stuff, and I just kind of, I don't know.
So you might, if it had just been talking animals with no human, I liked it better.
Well, maybe. I think more of it is the human characters they're bringing in, like showing them being more barbaric and more of this. Like, I like more of the society deal they had going on, and
right,
less. I don't know.
But it's kind of about, as it turns out, it's kind of about the breakdown of their society, and there's only 1 human.
But there's 2.
No, just 1.
Misread it.
Maybe there'll be more humans in this one, but up to the first 7 issues, there's only the 1 human.
Ah, well.
And speaking of humans, there's BPRD Hell on Earth. Have you ever tried this one?
Not Hell on Earth yet. I've read some BPRD and I really enjoy it. I haven't gotten to the Hell on Earth section though.
Well, I mean, I think it's all 138 issue story so far. So
yeah.
I've only read about 15 or 20 issues, so I'm still kind of lost. But I enjoy most issues, so I keep getting it.
Have you gone back and read the old stuff?
bits and pieces I've gotten digitally. Like there was one that Travis recommended to me a while back that about the character Howard, who is kind of like a Conan character who had a past life during the Stone Age.
Okay, yeah.
So I got those issues, and those helped me understand things. But I don't know enough about the Black Flame, whoever or whatever that is, and that apparently is important.
Okay.
Anyway, but I am looking forward to that. This is kind of my my Jean-Claude Van Damme of my comics. The Rook, which is a time travel story. And I think that the guy with the long hair and the mustache, who looks like, oh, what's that actor who always plays cowboys? But anyway, that's supposed to be the time traveler from the H.G. Wells novel.
Okay.
And so it seems to be fun. I don't know if it's going beyond four issues, and this is issue 3. And I got Southern Cross, which I think has been months and months in the coming, and I think it's the final issue of this story, and I don't think there's going to be a further story. Did you try Southern Cross at all?
Don't think I heard of it. Cloonan, though.
It's written by Becky Cloonan and drawn by this other fellow. I think he's a man named Bellinger. There's something about Becky Cloonan and the things I've read by her. I think it's going to get very cosmic in this issue, but she has a very slow burn style, which makes me wonder how she's going to write the Punisher. I can't imagine a Punisher series that takes like 3 or 4 issues to get going. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll be perfect for the Punisher. And then I got Limbo, which I think came out last week, and I missed it. I saw it in someone else's hall and realized I'd missed it.
That's weird. All right.
And Limbo is a kind of weird, I think it takes place in a city, like a fantasy version of New Orleans. Have you heard of Limbo at all?
No. New Image, though.
It's one of these Image books written and drawn by people that I've never heard of before. Dan Waters and Casper Wingard. But it's pretty, it's up to a pretty high standard of art and color and everything. And I think the story is going to be another sort of supernatural detective kind of story. Are you one of those big Rucka fans? Did you jump on Black Magic?
I tried, or no, I didn't jump on Black Magic. I think I confused it for Black Science and just kind of let it go.
I almost bought the big magazine size issue, but for whatever reason, I'm a bit prejudiced against magic detectives. Although here I am getting another magic detective, but I don't know.
That looks a bit different, though. I can understand.
And then I got From Under Mountains by Marion Churchland and Company, which I was thinking I would drop from my pull starting with issue 3, but it looks like my shop already dropped it from my pull. No. But I'll still give issue 3 a try. That's another deep fantasy one, and it has very interesting, more indie art, but the story seems very cliched. And Spire must be close to finished, I think. I think it's, well, someone told me it was 8 issues. I thought it was 6 issues. Have you heard of Spire?
No, but that looks cool.
It's Simon Spurrier with an artist named Jeff Stokely. I think he did an issue of Godzilla in Hell.
No.
But it has a bit of a Mobius look to it. And takes place in this sort of fantasy science fiction future where everyone lives in this city that's a spire. And there's a detective in it. There's a bit too much detective fiction going on, I think.
Yeah.
Life After, now called Exodus: The Life After, so that they could reboot.
Yeah.
I really loved it before it rebooted, but when it rebooted, they sent the character back to purgatory, and I'm waiting to see whether they can get the momentum going again.
That's a bummer.
And then I have Dark Horse Presents, which...
How is that?
This is issue 17 of Dark Horse Presents, and I've all 17 issues, I've kept meaning to go back and read them in order. Instead, I read a few occasional shorter pieces, but there's all these serialized stories that I need to figure out where they start and go back to.
When I was talking about Island, people kept saying I should check that out. So I don't know. I don't know if it's easy to find the other issues at this point, though.
Yeah, I don't know. And Island, a lot of Island is one shot.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one has stuff by someone named Dennis Calero. I know I've seen his art. Sean Aldridge, who I've never heard of. Carla Speed McNeil, she's the person who did Finder and is currently doing a series for Image. Well, I forget what it's called. Semi-Automagic by Alex DeCampi and Jerry Ordway. And Brendan McCarthy's Dream Gang, which is kind of fun. I don't know if you're familiar with Brendan McCarthy, but he tends to do kind of psychedelic stuff. Seems to be a lot of psychedelic looking stuff in my haul right now.
Yeah.
So have you been able, obviously last week you read a whole bunch of comics and made a video about it. Do you just read your pull and then stop reading comics, or have you been reading other stuff too?
Yeah, mostly. Where'd I put it? Here we go. So a good chunk of my time was finishing up this Ghost in the Shell. This is apparently the bad printing by Dark Horse. There's 2 printings, and there's no real distinction except to know you got the second printing. This is the first.
I read that the bad printing is missing 2 pages of lesbian sex.
It is missing that, and there's a few different translations, most notably some speech bubbles by Bato, one of the main characters, and the way he talks about some different things. I think those are the bubbles that allude to the idea that Kusanagi was originally a male, but I don't know. So, and if you've ever seen the movie or something and you're kind of daunted by going in and reading it, the manga is way different. It has a lot more levity. The characters are a lot more fun. It's actually kind of shocking how different it is. So
it was a really long time when that movie came out in the theaters, if I remember right.
Yeah,
I get it a bit confused with Akira. I think Akira came out as a movie and then Ghost in a Shell a little bit after that.
Yeah, that was a big part of the anime explosion in the States, were those 2 movies, which were released here within a couple of years of each other, I think.
Right.
But yeah, drastically different stuff, and the manga is great too, and that's something I need to get to more. The other thing I've been reading, and I want to talk about this for a minute, was I started reading Lucifer.
Right.
But I was reading it to get away from hubbubaloo and comics that were tied in with media or anything, sit down and read about the devil or something. And then the very next day, there's a show and a new comic announcements, this whole thing. And I was like, really?
So you didn't see that coming at all? Because I had heard rumors that Lucifer was going to be a show for a while. But you didn't know that at all when you picked it up.
No, I've been keeping my nose away from the grindstone because it's not my thing. And it was just kind of funny that timing happened.
It's funny that Lucifer, a spin-off of Sandman, comes out before, as it comes out in other media before Sandman ever gets a TV show.
I mean, Lucifer, the spin-off of Sandman, sure, but it's the devil. Like, it's not.
Right.
an unknown property or something.
But it does take its cues from Sandman in certain ways.
Yeah, but if you see the trailer for the show, it's not anything like
Okay.
that.
I have not seen the trailer for the show at all. I just avoid all of that stuff because I just know I don't have time to watch it. We have been getting comments on Twitter from Terrence, Comic Crack.
Oh, he broke the system.
So I didn't notice it first because he was sending it to me through PMs on Twitter. And I'd been looking at notifications. So sorry, Terrence. He says it was a cop-out on Silver Surfer. He really should have remade it, meaning the universe. And I agree. That was a big cop-out. And I don't know why they couldn't have somehow fit that in, that the reason we returned to the Marvel universe is because the Silver Surfer could remake the whole universe. Yeah, and he says she may as well have woken up from a dream at that rate. And that seems to be the whole Secret Wars, right? Waking up from a dream that most people don't even remember even. And he says Ed Brisson is another Vancouver Canadian who's worked on Rat Queens. Rat Queens? I thought Rat Queens only had one writer. Prophet and his chums with Simon Roy, Brandon Graham crowd. Okay. Well, that's both interesting, and I'm a little suspicious at this point of the Brandon Graham crowd because there's some weird stuff there. But he also says Spire is very manga style art, and I think Matt would really enjoy it, and that it's an 8-issue mini. Yeah. So
you said what issue just came out?
Issue 5. See, I thought it was 6 issues because it felt like it was starting to wrap up, but I'm sure he's right that it's an 8-issue. I guess I don't know when to decide something is like manga.
It's kind of bled because I mean art influences itself, and now we're at a cycle. We're at a weird point in the cycle. Like if you look at I'm spacing on her name right now. The girl who did Madame Xanadu for a long time.
Oh right, Amy something.
Yeah. She got her start off doing a Mera manga and was very much in the manga style, and then that came through. And if you look at Fiona Staples, like she definitely has some manga influences, but it doesn't really look like manga. But then you look at a lot of manga nowadays, and it's taking a lot of cues from other stuff as well, and it's all a mix and pot.
I randomly grab stuff at the library to try to read with my daughter in manga. Like we started reading one called like Little Miss Sherlock or something like that.
Okay.
But it's very, I don't know how to put it, but it seems to rely on a lot of certain close-ups on faces and certain other shots that repeat a lot. Does that sound right to you? Or
oh yeah, well, so when you understand how that stuff, a lot of that is turned out, if it's part of any of the weekly 10-page stuff that gets turned out, those people are insane. In order to keep up with that schedule, you have to work like nothing else, and they're just doing 10 pages, so they take all kinds of shortcuts. They'll copy where they can, where it's relevant to kind of get through.
And they're like really stretching out like lots of panels with very little happening, right?
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, also
and maybe there's emotional things that I don't get when I like that something is supposed to have emotional impact, but it has no emotional impact for me in the random ones I've tried. I totally know I haven't tried any of the good ones.
Well, there's plenty of bad stuff. Yeah.
Because it's just, you know, I'll see something and I'll think that looks interesting for my daughter and I'll grab it. And we neither she nor I ever get very far through them, but she always likes the idea of them, especially when there's like 30 volumes and each volume is, 500 pages long. She thinks that's really cool. So she gets all excited, but then we don't actually read it. So, well, what would you say are the aspects of manga? Do you have a theory of what the big differences are? Or
I mean, one of the biggest things is obviously like the eyes, the way they do the eyes, a lot bigger usually. But Usually I think when people think of giant anime eyes, they're thinking of Clamp, which is a studio there, and they just do ridiculously huge.
Uh-huh. Well, certainly Big Eyes have kind of moved into American animation a lot.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder if the storytelling is different. Because just, again, in my brief attempts to read it, I just feel in an alien story space sometimes.
Well, I mean, it really comes through in a lot of different ways. Like with a lot of American comics, you can expect some sort of biblical reference along the way and it to just kind of be passed off.
Right.
With manga and stuff, you're much more likely to run into a what am I thinking of? The Monkey King. To the Journey to the West. That whole thing, you're much more likely to get a reference from that going. So I mean, it's just from a different place. Also, Eastern storytelling has different focuses, and the way they're brought up with their classical literature has like completely different breakdowns than what we have. Like they have more of a 5-act structure, we have more of a 3-act structure for general purposes. I think it's 5-act on their side. It's been a while.
Right.
But
I mean, Shakespeare was 5-act, but modern movies are 3-act.
Yeah.
I guess, when I think about it, like so many of these books that I have all these cliches of detective stories and of supernatural fiction, and we're so immersed in that we may not even notice all the cliche crutches that are holding up our stories. That are when you're reading stories from a different culture, you don't know all those things, and things feel a little more random or strange.
Yeah, well, and depending what manga you're reading, a lot of the stuff that's come out more recently, because manga's been going a weird way over there, a lot of it's focused at, a younger crowd, whereas more comics that we're reading now is focused at an older crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And high school is kind of a bigger, different thing there, at least in manga standards. So that plays a lot into it.
So what do you think Ghost in the Shell is aimed at?
I mean, that one took off in a different way, but yeah, that's aimed at, I don't know, teenage boys mostly, but there's enough weird psychoanalysis and whatnot in there that, and pure cyberpunk, that it took off with a lot of other people. But that's the thing, is the manga's geared kind of a different way, and the characters have a lot more levity, and all the girls are wearing thongs, and it's one way. But then when you watch the movie, that's clearly directed at a bit of an older audience than the manga was. But it has such a different tone. It's such a different thing.
In my memory, I mean, I just remember a few visual things from the movie, and the sense that there was some sort of philosophical thing about that their idea of the ghost was like our idea of the soul, right? So,
well, the whole ghost and cyberbrain thing has to do with like identity in the cybernetic world, where
what is human and what isn't kind of questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to have that spiritual aspect to it, but it's just supposed to be an aspect of the whole idea of, if we're existing just on a cybernetic infrastructure, what is really you? Is it your body? And then they play all around with that.
Again, we have a pretty good number of viewers now, 8, but I couldn't figure out how to enable comments. So I apologize to people, and you could go to Sleepy Reader 666 on Twitter to make comments if you want to make comments. Just throwing that out there if new people have come on. But
yell at your computer screen really loudly. We might hear you.
Now it says 10 viewers. Now 9 viewers. It goes up and down. So you're liking Lucifer so far, what you've read, other than the fact that now you feel like you're part of the crowd?
Yeah, I only read the first 3 issues, which was part of Sandman Present, the Morningstar option, and that was a really interesting story. I really liked it, but there was also an artist for those 3 issues, and then the art changes going forward, and so that's going to be a shift. But I'm going to keep reading it. It's kind of I don't know, something in the craw.
I think it gets really good as it starts going on. And they did a thing, I think eventually the main artist is Peter Gross, and then maybe every 3 or 4 issues there's some other fill-in artist, and they do a sort of side story usually. And then goes back to the main story. That's my memory of the pattern of it. I've always wanted to reread it, but it's a big commitment because I think it's about 70 issues or something.
Yeah, I have 4 really thick trades is the entirety of it until they make these new issues. So,
yeah, and the new issues are not by the same writer.
No, I'll probably check them out, but I'm gonna do the same thing I did for Sandman Overture and just wait for them to be collected and buy a trade because I have no need to grab the issues. So, plus those are stories that reading in issues, I don't think that's a great idea. They're not action.
You'll feel impatient. If it's anything like the original, you'll want to read a whole bunch at once.
Yeah, you're reading Lucifer. It's kind of calm and considered, and it's not a punchy comic. It's a great comic, but it's not standard fare.
Well, hopefully the new comic is not just an attempt to do something that ties into the TV show. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I know that Luke Batman Videos picked it up, so maybe he'll talk about it. But
well, the TV show ad that I saw made it so that the only real connection is that Lucifer has decided to not be the Lord of Hell anymore, and
right.
that he's working he's the pianist at the bar he's at. I don't even know if that's the right term. That's about where the similarities end, and they just have this swarmy guy, and he's helping the LAPD with random cases, and so it becomes
we're back to the supernatural detective stuff.
Yeah, which is like it makes no sense here. You're bringing in Lucifer, and now he's solving petty crimes. Like, it doesn't.
It's more like, what can we get as a hook for our next supernatural detective story so that it's a little different from some other supernatural detective story?
I shouldn't judge. I'm watching Supernatural right now and really enjoying that. Because at heart, I'm a 16-year-old girl, which is why I love manga too. All adds up.
Yeah, so if the new series is anything like the TV show, it will be nothing like the books. Who knows?
Yeah.
What comics do you expect to get when you do get to go to the store, when the snow lets up or the ice lets up?
I looked through the list. It's 4 comics this week. Let's see here. I have it pulled up. I'll run through. Where was it? So I was gonna get. There's a Spider-Man tie-in. It's 1.1, and we'll see how that goes. I'll pick it up because it's Spider-Man. There's that Batman and Robin Eternal. I'm going to pick up the psychedelic cover. I was thinking of getting the Batman The Doom That Came to Gotham trade. Kind of heard Howler talking about it, and Mignola doing Batman. I'm curious. Sound cool.
Does it? Do you know who the writer is on it, or is Mignola the writer also?
Let's see. No, he's the writer. Oh, it looks like maybe he just did the cover because they have someone else listed as the artist. Troy Nixie and Dennis Yankee.
Never heard of them.
Yeah. And Batman has a gun on the cover. I don't know. Oh, that's right. There's the Spanish Deadpool issue out this week. I'm not going to get that, though.
Comic Crack said Brisson, the guy who's doing Batman and Robin this week, is also a letterer. And now I'm remembering who he is. He's a letterer who's been breaking into writing he was writing Sheltered, but I never read that, but I heard interviews with him about Sheltered, which was an Image comic about kids in a cult who end up, one of those cults that thinks it's the end of the world and holds himself up in the mountains of Colorado, or I don't know if it was Colorado, but
we have mountains to hold up.
And I think they kill all their parents because God tells them to, or something.
Yeah, like God does.
So he comes. So Ed Brisson comes from the indie comics, and he sort of got his foot in the door by doing lettering first.
Okay.
So he might be an interesting writer to work on Batman, but it is interesting that they're bringing in these unfamiliar to DC writers for what we kind of assume is a fairly big book, but maybe DC is viewing it as a little side project or something. What do you make of DC being so big on Robin right now?
I'm liking it because I've always enjoyed
I know
Robin.
you like it, but why do you think they're doubling down on Robin so heavily? Any reason?
I mean, it seems like maybe they're just trying to pick a theme and run with it so that they can promote as like the Year of Robin kind of idea. Also, I mean, maybe someone pitched a story and it worked. I don't know, because they're doing the whole We Are Robin thing, and I think something about that just clicked. And
right, and Dick Grayson is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even get that many DC comics, and I'm getting Dick Grayson, and he's in Starfire, which I haven't read yet. Although I did see they have a big kiss in it. So, and I'm not clear from his own comic whether he has a relationship with the woman who runs Spiral, who used to be Huntress, whose name I always forget.
Oh,
it's an Italian name.
Yeah, I can't. I blinked. Helena
something.
B.
Starts with a B. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
did he have a relationship with her sometime in the past too?
I don't remember that happening because he was always with Barbara. So,
and was I don't know much about the Huntress. I didn't think she was ever a super spy before, or is that something that connects to her past before the New 52?
No, she was mostly the angry one that was not allowed in the Bat family because she was willing to kill, basically.
Right.
And then she had most of her run through Birds of Prey. So, yeah.
So other than her name, Helena really has no relationship to the Huntress or the past, because she's, as far as I know, she's just a super spy, and now she's the leader of Spiral. But I think she's in love with Grace, and I think they slept together. Excuse me. So
maybe
there's a lot of fuzziness in DC, and I don't know if it's always been there, and I just didn't know about it. But
well, since they reshuffled the deck and we're still dealing with the New 52 stuff, it's, I don't know, they've redefined a lot, and there's not a lot to back it up anymore.
Right. Or they've undefined a lot in a way.
Right.
So I haven't read it yet, but you were saying you really liked this issue of Constantine, and I bought it because it had the Swamp Thing on the cover, basically. And I was hungering for some Swamp Thing.
Well, it's got some good Swamp Thing moments in there.
The art looks good, at least on the spread page, or the splash page.
Kind of comes and goes because it's a very interesting style, but sometimes they pull away and it's...
Maybe it's more good coloring, actually.
Yeah, the color is solid.
Are you interested in Swamp Thing? Will you pick up the next Swamp Thing mini that they're going to have coming out?
Probably not.
Because I'm actually excited about that because of the artist. Famous Batman artist, and now I'm forgetting his name. Why can't I? One of my favorite Batman artists, and I can't remember his name. I'll remember as soon as we get off the air. Kelly Jones will be doing the art. Do you remember him?
No.
He was the original artist on the whole Bane Nightfall period of things.
Wow.
And so him doing the Swamp Thing seems very interesting to me.
Huh.
And Len Wein who's the original creator of the Swamp Thing, will be doing the script, but I don't know that Len Wein has written anything anyone's been excited about in a long time.
Guess it's good they're giving him a shot.
You're not reading Monstrous, are you? Speaking of manga influenced.
You think that's manga influenced?
That's what everyone says.
Huh. Maybe it's not the cover then.
Does that look manga influenced?
I guess. Sure.
Maybe if manga had color, I would like it a lot better. This is really nice artwork. I haven't read this issue yet either. I am way behind. I don't know how I'm going to catch up.
Got to ditch those comics you don't like.
Which ones don't I like? I like too much. I need to become more of a snob, I guess.
There you go.
Okay, well, it seems like I have worn poor Wednesday Serial out. So I think this might be a good stopping point.
Yeah. No
Thank
worries.
you very much for this impromptu, joining me in an impromptu video. And thanks to the 10 viewers. And again, I'm really sorry you couldn't make comments. I guess I'm going to have to relearn how YouTube works.
Or just wait a week and I'll change again.
There must be some kind of settings that you can set up before you start your Hangout.
Yeah.
And they're just very hidden. Okay, I'll talk to all of you very soon. Bye-bye.